wondered if there are any animals that are like real-life Pokemon? Welcome to Shelby on Safari, the place where I, a wild animal biologist and Pokemon trainer, often ask that very same question. And so with Pokemon Legends Arceus coming out really soon, I'm going to be taking a look at the starter Pokemon of Pokemon Legends Arceus and seeing what real-life animals are like these Pokemon. So you ready? Join the safari and let's get started. Let's say alola to the pueo, or the Hawaiian short-eared owl. Of course, I had to go with a Hawaiian endemic species to represent the alolan Pokemon Rowlet, and boy is the pueo absolutely stunning. Take a look at these eyes! The Pokedex entry states that Rowlet can turn their heads 180 degrees. Rather impressive, but it definitely is necessary because owls, like the pueo, need some great flexibility because their eyes are actually fixed in their sockets. Therefore, turning their head is the only way that they'll be able to see in different directions. They wouldn't be able to do this. To help them rotate their head, they have a few extra vertebrae than we do. They have 14 vertebrae in their neck, whereas we humans only have 7. It's also known that Rowlet has excellent night vision. Now, coincidentally enough, the pueo, or Hawaiian short-eared owl, is actually crepuscular, which means they're more active at dawn and dusk, rather than being nocturnal like some of their other owl brethren. However, they are vulnerable to light pollution, which is believed to have led to their decline on the Hawaiian island of Oahu, the one island where they're actually listed as an endangered species. One thing that stood out in the anime for me was Ash's Rowlet's love for close, tight, dark spaces. In fact, he frequently was a frequent flyer in his backpack, even though he wasn't flying. That was just me that he was getting a lift somewhere. This got me thinking about the pueo's nest. These guys actually nest on the ground of all places and are constructed by the females. And they take their nest decorating quite seriously, for they line it with feather down and grasses. I guess that makes sense, especially since females do all the incubating and brooding. Gotta make it nice for yourself, right? Now I'm curious to see in Pokemon Legends Arceus if we'll get the same evolutions that we've seen in the other games, or are the rumors true, or are they gonna be completely different? I wonder. Either way, I also was reminded of Rowlet's evolution Decidueye because of, well, the wingspan and the wing shape of the pueo. It's quite long and striking, especially with those mysterious eyes. But if you were to see a pueo, it's actually considered by many to be good luck. And depending on what island you're on, there's a few different lores and myth associated with the pueo. For example, on the island of Maui, no, not that Maui. Lore on the island of Maui speaks of a pueo that provides wandering souls with direction. Isn't that a nice thought? Either way, I think Rowlet and the pueo would certainly be up there on my choice of Pokemon starters. But we still have 2 more to meet, and we're actually gonna head on over to another island to meet the real-life Pokemon equivalent of Cyndaquil. Now we see Cyndaquil's eyes are usually closed, and this got me thinking of the lesser Madagascan hedgehog Tenrec. What's in a name, especially if you're not a hedgehog? They are in very different classifications, but for some reason, they've been given the common name of hedgehog Tenrec. But they're not hedgehogs, let's make that clear. Although they do share some similarities, but also some big differences. Now, the reason why I thought of the lesser hedgehog Tenrec with regards to its eyes being closed, I thought could be a nod to how the lesser hedgehog Tenrec actually goes into a state of torpor. And if that sounds familiar, well, that's because I covered it on last week's video, which you can check out after this one down in the description below, in which we talked about animals that hibernate and a bit more on torpor. Now these guys are mostly nocturnal, so they sleep during the day and awake to forage at night. However, sometimes when food gets a bit scarce on the island of Madagascar, particularly from May to October, these guys can go into a state of torpor to save their energy and have a better chance at survival. It could also be because the lesser hedgehog Tenrec also has poor vision. But what they lack for in eyesight, they make up for in their other senses, for they have an excellent sense of smell and hearing. Now, Cyndaquil is known to defend itself with its flames. and the fire grows more powerful if they get angry. Which I'm not suggesting the lesser hedgehog Tenrec has flames coming out of its back, but it does have, as you see, and because of its common name, some prickly spines. And while the Tenrec actually has a relatively low body temperature, they too are able to raise and lower their spines, kind of like how Cyndaquil might raise and lower its flames on its back, because they have really well-developed muscles under their skin that allow them to raise and lower their spines on their back. Ready for a fancy word? Panicculus carnosus. Oh yeah, that's the name of the muscles that are under their skin that control their spines. Isn't that cool? You learn something new every day. However, if the enemy is far too great for the lesser hedgehog Tenrec, like Cyndaquil can grow more powerful if they're angry, these little guys will also lunge backwards to drive their spines into enemies if needed. Quite gutsy move, really. But I got ahead of myself because Cyndaquil and the lesser hedgehog Tenrec both curl up into balls to defend themselves when intimidated. And how Cyndaquil's flames on his back have a few different colors in it, you'll notice that the lesser hedgehog Tenrec has quite the colorful assortment on its back as well. Their spines range in color from white to black. Either way, both Cyndaquil and the lesser hedgehog Tenrec are super cute, but certainly a force to be reckoned with, one that you want to stay on the good side of for fear of spines and flames. And so for the last Pokemon Arceus starter, we're gonna head back home to my neck of the woods, to California, to meet Oshawott, and of course, the sea otter. So we're gonna take a look at 3 adaptations that Oshawott has that the Pokedex tells us about, and see just how similar they actually are to sea otters. We'll first start off with the freckles on Oshawott's face. It's believed that these may be premature whiskers, which got me thinking about the whiskers of sea otters and just how incredible they are. Sea otters on average have about 120 whiskers on their muzzle, which interestingly enough is similar to most seals. Even though sea otters and seals aren't related, sea otters are mustelids, which includes other species of otter and say weasels. And they evolved more from the land side of things, given their relatives, than seals who have been in the water for quite some time. Which is why a recent study on sea otters' whiskers is just so nuts. The whisker anatomy of a sea otter is also more closely related to seals and sea lions, not their actual closer relatives, the other otters or weasels. For sea otters have the 3-blood sinus system, elastic tissues, and lots of nerves. Just for comparison, the sea otter's whiskers are supplied by just over 1,000 axons, which, say it with me, is similar to seals. Whereas the sea otter's closer relatives, like river otters, have only about 500 axons per whisker. And you might be thinking, okay, but why is that important? Well, it is when you're diving for your food and searching on the ocean floor for your dinner. Helps give you a greater sensitivity to what's around you. Perfect for identifying prey. Speaking of prey, once you find it, what are you gonna do with it? Well, Oshawott, as we see, has 2 pointed teeth, which are seen when they open their mouth. And teeth certainly play a role when you're a sea otter. Young sea otters have between 6 and 10 teeth at birth, 4 canines and 2 incisors. But as they get older, their teeth get gnarlier. In fact, you'd probably make good money if you were a sea otter dentist, that's for sure. Because they develop plaque-like buildup around their gums, their teeth get fractured, all sorts of crazy stuff happens to sea otters' teeth. In fact, in a recent study, scientists found that, like the rings on the inside of a tree, how you can age it, well, that kind of holds true for sea otters with their teeth. For they found that tooth wear was the most reliable predictor of age in sea otters. Although I'm not suggesting if you choose Oshawott as your starter that you go around brushing its teeth. Although that might be a good point. I wonder if Nurse Joy does that. Helps keep their teeth nice and shiny. And last but certainly not least in terms of adaptations for Oshawott, the adorable sea otter Pokemon, well, it's its scalp chop, of course. That shell-like structure that's on its chest that Oshawott wears proudly and also uses. According to the Pokedex entry, this seashell is made from the same materials as its claws, which got me thinking, huh. But then it got even weirder. That's right, in the Pokedex, it says that if these Scalchops are lost or damaged, Oshawott can grow another? What? But it can take weeks to do so, but still, what? I'm pleased to say that sea otters of our world don't grow. Their tools which they use. In fact, that's one of the things that sets sea otters apart, that they are one of the few marine mammals to actually use tools. Although they typically use a rock to act as a hammer, like Milnir, to open hard-shelled prey. But sea otters do have a rather unique adaptation when it comes to their tools. While they can't grow them, they can certainly store them. Sea otters have a loose patch of skin just under their armpit to store not only their tool, but sometimes food for snacking on later. Don't know how good that would taste if you put it under your armpit, but I guess if it suits, who am I to judge? But judge I must. I will soon be like you guys and have to choose my starter Pokemon for Pokemon Legends Arceus. Will you go for Rowlet, Cyndaquil, or Oshawott? Should come as no surprise that I, in fact, will be going for my beloved Oshawott. And if you can't wait for Pokemon Legends Arceus, don't worry, I got you covered. Let the adventure continue by checking out my playlist here on my other Pokemon animal comparison videos. Go and click it, I'll see you over there. Thanks so much for watching.